right, guys, moving on. It is time for our Guardians of the Galaxy 3 review. If you notice, Seth has joined us. We had a little bit of, hello, Seth. We had a little bit of a time crunch this week in terms of getting everyone on the podcast. So we are recording the Guardians 3 spoiler review right now. It is Thursday, May 4th. Happy Star Wars Day. The rest of the episode, everything you are seeing, was recorded on Sunday. Obviously, we want to get out the same content we get out, every single week to you guys. So we're recording this episode 2 different times. If you notice, I'm in a different location. Tyler's room looks a little different. We're wearing different clothes. Seth is now with us. Welcome, Seth. So let's just jump. Yeah, they got it.
They're confident people.
If you guys missed that, Seth is with us now, just in case. But let's just jump right into it. Last week, we gave our non-spoiler reviews. Seth, I want to start with you since you didn't participate last week. You hadn't seen the movie. Let's start with your very brief thoughts on Guardians 3. Obviously, it's your favorite MCU movie. You made that very clear on Twitter and TikTok. So let's get your very quick thoughts before we jump into the spoiler part of the episode.
Yeah, so I've said before that the Guardians are like kind of my favorite thing in the MCU because I just feel like they work as standalone films, and James Gunn, in my opinion, I'm sure in most people's opinions, is probably the most talented filmmaker in terms of writing, and I just appreciate the fact that MCU gives James Gunn the freedom.
I assume you mean in comic book movies, or do you just mean like most talented, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
I can't really say like Zack Snyder, for example, because I've not seen anything. So it's like
don't worry, and he's not, so it's fine.
Stop. But it's hard for me to say that when I've seen. No, my favorite Zack Snyder film was Dawn of the Dead, and I haven't seen anything else. So 300 actually. He did 300, didn't he? Yeah, 300.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I really, really, really liked it, and more than just kind of liked it for an MCU film. I think everyone was quite surprised. Twitter was in a ruckus waiting for. I had messages I left the cinema and like you guys have tweeted about it. I had messages about this, and I think it's important to note that like I didn't like this for an MCU film. I just liked this. Does that make sense? I didn't like this more than the average MCU film. I just really liked this as a standalone project. I think it was a perfect send-off. I think it had some issues, which I'll go into kind of more in the spoilers, but I think some Marvel issues that we do tend to see, and they're not really going to escape from fully, that aren't my favorite things, but I think it was very minimal. I think it was hilarious. I laughed. I cried. That's a fucking Marvel film. What's wrong with me? Like, I'm talking multiple cries as well. Not just like a tear. I'm talking like by the end, I was like, I could barely see. I think all the characters worked really well. It was exactly what I wanted. It was a great send off for my favorite portion of the MCU. Yeah. It was my favorite portion of the MCU. Obviously, I'll go into it more with spoilers, but right now it's a 4.5 for me, which makes it my first 4.5 in the MCU, my highest MCU rated movie. And actually, I did check. This is officially my fifth highest superhero movie ever.
Oh, I thought it was third.
It was, but I didn't count. So it would be The Dark Knight, then it would be The Incredibles, and then it would be Into the Spider-Verse, and then it would be the Batman, and then it would be this. So when I was thinking about it, for some reason, animated movies, I know, incredible for me. Especially The Incredibles, I don't really like, do you know what I mean? As a superhero film, it didn't come to my mind straight away.
Yes, Fantastic Four film.
Yeah, top 5 is pretty impressive. I really liked it. It was very surprising. I'll go into a bit more with spoilers, but it was great. It was really good.
Trust me, I think I speak on behalf of all of our followers that we were very excited that you enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
All right, but let's go for it, Cam.
I think this is my 5th highest rated
superhero movie ever.
I think I got Dark Knight, Spider-Verse, Logan, Infinity War. This.
Where do you have
the Batman's a 95?
Did you drop the Batman?
No, it's always been a 95.
Oh,
what did you give this? A 98 or
96?
Okay.
Yeah, so 5 out of 5 superhero movies.
Well, that shows just how highly we rate it. I mean, I also give it a 4.
Where's The Incredibles come?
Oh, and also a 95 actually, so 7.
So still 5 then.
Beautiful.
Nice.
So, so spoiler talk. I gave it a 4.5. Seth gave it a 4.5. Cam and Tyler gave it a 5 out of 5. So let's jump into spoilers. And again, I cannot stress this enough. The movie only came out like 5 days ago for a lot of people. So if you haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy, please just skip ahead. Like, I don't know, maybe like 40, 45 minutes.
We have the timestamps.
We have the timestamps. Just skip ahead. This is not a movie we want to. Yeah, just go to the last episode for our spoiler-free thoughts. Let's start with just the general synopsis of this movie, or not even a synopsis, just how grounded this movie feels. There's no Kang. There's no connection here really to the larger MCU movie. I think Cam mentioned last week that this is the second MCU movie now that
could be wrong, but yeah, I think that is.
Either way, that like summarizes what we're trying to say. Is this movie has like basically no connection to the greater MCU. There's no mention of Kang. There's no mention of Kang. There's no mention of like any other Avengers characters, and that's what I thoroughly enjoy about these Guardians movies. Like Seth said, they just feel like such standalone movies. So again, we're getting spoilers, so leave if you haven't seen the movie. This movie is basically about the Guardians on an effort, on a journey to save Rocket. The movie opens with Adam Warlock basically ravaging through nowhere. He puts Nebula in a blender. He puts Drax in a blender. He fucks up Rocket. So we'll start there. And I mentioned this last week again. That was one of my favorite character introductions in the MCU. It was so brutal. There were so many moments where I was like, wow, are we about to lose a main character in the first 15 minutes of this movie? And I want to shout out, and I'm sorry I don't have her name, like who plays Mantis. But there are multiple scenes where she's like crying and screaming. And I was like, wow, like that is hitting me. Like every time Drax got like smacked down, she was like belting out in tears, like Drax, no, oh my God. And I was like, wow, are we about to fucking lose someone? So we'll start there. And I want to start with Tyler, because I know, Tyler, you mentioned also last week that you do enjoy just how like small scale this movie is.
Yeah, for sure. So I will say Adam Warlock's initial intro when he was like flying to the sky, I didn't like. I thought that looked like a little bit like The Rock and Black Adam. Didn't love it, but yeah, like the whole scene of him being introduced was amazing. My favorite part about that too is the trailers that we all saw for the past few months. So much of them were the first 15 minutes of this movie, like Chris Pratt being carried off. Like immediately, he's like, "You thought we were gonna have them be dead? This is them carrying him off." No, this is the first 2 minutes of the movie. But yeah, it felt so self-contained. I really love that, like I said, like everything from the trailer was like in the first 15 minutes of the movie, so they really didn't give away much at all. And yeah, like that's what I said before we started recording this, like this is going to be probably my most rewatched MCU movie, just because you don't need to worry about precursor knowledge, and again, we don't know, but I'm assuming you don't need to worry about where this leaves off funneling into a bunch of other stuff they have to carry on for storylines. You can just watch this as its own thing. But yeah, Adam Warlock, I loved him. But like, yeah, from the intro scene, you would have thought we would have got a lot more of him in this movie, but we didn't, which it was fine. I would have liked more of him, but I wouldn't say I'm detracting from the movie because of it. I think the way his character ended up being was well done. But yeah, I wish we would have got more of Will Poulter, because I thought he was really, really funny in this.
Yeah, I thought he was, and maybe I'm mistaken the way I read like all the marketing material and the way I like looked into the trailer. I really thought he was going to be the main antagonist as opposed to the High Evolutionary. But the reason, and again, I also said I wish we got more of Adam Warlock, just because I thought Will Poulter was great. I thought he was hilarious.
His comedic timing is so
the one
good.
Scene where he gets like stabbed with an arrow, and he's like, "Who did that?" And then he kind of walks off and goes, "Babies." I was like, "That's so funny," and like he has this like
it was
funny
the scene
accent.
with the animal where he's like, "I'm sad now," and it's like getting sad because it's crying and stuff like that. His comedic timing.
Yeah,
he was. You know what? He wasn't
obviously coming from like We're the Millers. Like he clearly is a good comedian.
Well,
yeah, he knows what he's
doing. In English films, like he's very. I just think he's brilliant. I really, really do. And I think, to be fair, he didn't get a decent amount of screen time, and I think it made it good because every time he was on screen, I enjoyed every second he was in it. Yeah. I think my issue with Marvel a lot is especially with like a villain and antagonist, they'll try and spin a lot of humor onto it, which doesn't necessarily land well, other than the Guardians films. But with his character, it worked in such a way where he was kind of this innocent being who was just created to torture, but he had this persona that didn't kind of allow him to do that. And I just found him really interesting. He was definitely one of my favorite characters of the film, I would say.
Just while we're on the subject of him, I'm kind of the opposite in George. Like I very, I read into it way too much before the movie comes out. So it's kind of like a far from home situation where Mysterio is the villain, even though all the trailers are showing that he's not, because it's very clearly like the same as in the comic books. He's the villain. And this was no different for me personally, in the sense that like Adam Warlock is a key member of the Guardians of the Galaxy in the comics. So you kind of we're full spoilers, right? We're just spoiling everything.
We're just going for
in the post-credit scene, in the mid-credit scene, I guess it sets up like the new team of Guardians. And he's obviously on it.
Well, I didn't know that, so kind of with Far From Home, like you mentioned, I remember watching Far From Home and actually being genuinely quite surprised with the turnaround, because I'm fucking not anything about that.
And that's not, and I don't even know how I would feel like if I was genuinely surprised. That's not like, that's something I enjoy to like look into these. So I wasn't upset that I knew Mysterio was the villain. That was something like I knew I was getting myself into, and it's kind of like this. Like I know when I'm diving deep into like what could this movie be about, I know I'm probably gonna figure some stuff out, but I like how they used him, and I think it is a benefit almost to the movie that you're like, damn, I wish I had more of him. And it's kind of like in Thor: Love and Thunder, where everyone's favorite movie, but at the very least, you wish you got more Gore the God Butcher, and I'd prefer that rather to a villain where you're like, this guy kind of sucks, but I wish I got less of them.
However,
with the
villain of this one.
Yeah, in Thor: Love and Thunder, Gore the God Butcher was the main antagonist. So if you're sitting there thinking, okay, I wish we got more of the main antagonist, there's a problem. The High Evolutionary, he was in the movie, and he was there, and he was a really good character. Obviously, we mentioned last week that we all loved his acting performance like crazy. What was his name? Chuck Woody.
It's Chuck Woody Awuji. And also, dumb fucks.
He was fantastic.
Sorry, not you three, but just internet general. That's like one of James Gunn's best friends, you idiots. And everyone's mad about James Gunn's wife. The main villain in this movie is his best friend.
I thought you were going to touch on and his brother, Sean Gunn, right?
Well, Sean he's in everything.
I thought you were going to touch on Cam, how everyone on the internet's like, oh, he was so good in this. I hope James Gunn brings him into the DC universe. It's like he's already in the DC universe.
Is he?
Yes, he's Myrn in Peacemaker. Yeah. Which I understand what that tweet was. I understand, like, hey, the DCEU is resetting, but also Peacemaker's getting a season 2, so it's not resetting. So
didn't mean to derail that.
Doesn't matter.
No. All right. Anyways, so I know if I texted you guys beforehand that we're not going to like really go like scene by scene, but I kind of put together a couple of bullet notes. So Adam obviously just ravages through nowhere, leaving Rocket as injured as possible. The wounds that Rocket had basically did not allow. How do I explain this properly? Like they couldn't access his kill switch or something, or like they couldn't touch him because his kill switch was going to go off.
Yeah, he had a kill switch in his heart. Okay, because he's obviously a creature of the High Evolutionary. Yeah. They need to, it's plot armor. Which
the health pack that they have for him. It doesn't allow for the health pack to regenerate him. Like basically, the High Evolutionary gets to choose if he lives or dies.
Okay, so anyways, that's when we're basically introduced to the High Evolutionary, and that's when we start to get a lot of Rocket's backstory, which I think everyone expected going into this movie. They did not hide the fact that I think Rocket was the main character of this movie. We're getting a lot of his backstory. I loved every part of his backstory. It was so sad, but you're seeing it through the eyes of like this innocent little raccoon. So he doesn't really understand like what's truly going on until he kind of gets thrown in a cage with the otter, the
Lila Teefs and
Floor.
Floor, yeah.
Floor.
Lila
Teefs.
Yeah, that was
a cute
Teefs. Like, I'm gonna name myself Floor because I'm lying on a floor. If I were there, I'd be like, that's a stupid name. Pick something else.
I will say, did you guys touch on like Peter being drunk at the start and then them carrying him to his bed. Like that's so that's like the first like group shot, right? And that's like the big ending in the trailer. And there was all
we
these,
touched on that.
Okay, yeah. There's all these theories of like, is Peter dead in this? You know, like obviously he's not, but it's funny that was just like at the very start and he's just passed out.
That would have been like if that was actually the ending of the movie, and that would have been the craziest thing to put in a trailer.
Yeah, ever. I know. But it's also one of those things like where Peter obviously was freaking out over Rocket, you know, the big shot in the trailer where everyone's like, Rocket's dying. I thought that was going to happen at the start because the lighting was kind of similar, and I'm like, holy shit!
I noticed that. Yeah, I said that's why.
They pulled a fast one on us because I was like, oh, Rocket's not going to die, but then he's kind of sidelined, like other than his backstory for like 90% of this movie.
Yeah, but oh my god, that backstory sets up like that final, like when Rocket's like going off with Groot. It made it so much better because he's like facing up against the High Evolutionary, like one-on-one, or not one-on-one, like against his henchmen. And I mentioned it before we even started recording this podcast, Cam, before you get here. When Rocket like jumps off Groot and it's a slow-mo shot of him and he's like, I'm Rocket, Raccoon. My theater lost its fucking mind. That scene was so fucking amazing.
I will say, right, I don't think I heard one laugh out loud last night.
Really?
No.
When I went to fucking Ant-Man Quantum Shittier, all I heard was laughs out loud and then shocked when like something happened. I was probably laughing the most there, which is like fucking wild.
My theater was.
Why are you not laughing at the good films?
Yeah,
like, you're laughing
every single time Drax like uttered second best friend. Me and Anna were laughing. No one else fucking was
crying. There's one thing in this. There's a recurring joke in this movie, and I think it's recurring throughout the Guardians. This is my favorite part in this movie specifically, but I think, and I didn't rewatch him, I think it's recurring throughout the Guardians. No one calls him a raccoon. They're like that fucking hamster or something. And every time it's the gerbil or whatever they call him, and every time it has me dying laughing. They're like, why is that rat on the ceiling or whatever? I don't know why. That's my favorite recurring joke in this.
Adam Warlock called him a rabbit at the start.
That's what it was.
No rabbit, the one like Clint Marvel released.
Yeah.
Did you guys? There was like one scene that had me dying. I don't even know if it was that funny. It was when they were in the fucking whatever it's called, and Gamora had that girl, Yora. She was holding and she had the gun to her head and whatever. And she said that guy looked like a carrot. And after it shows a shot of him, and he's like,
was that on Orgo Corp?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Orgo Sphere.
It was his face after.
Is that what it was? Yeah.
Dying.
That's so funny, man.
That was so funny. That whole sequence in that place was amazing. I loved
the movie. And I'd like to hear Cam, specifically, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Because, Tyler, I know you tweeted that this is the funniest MCU movie, the most emotional. Do you agree with that, Cam? Is this the funniest MCU movie?
I think it probably is. I really do think Thor Ragnarok is one of the funnier.
Yeah.
This is probably number one. This is probably number one.
I'd go this be number one, Guardians 1 be number 2, and then Thor Ragnarok probably. And then Guardians.
I think I have Guardians 3 and Ragnarok are both my top two.
It's just James Gunn, man. It's so funny.
This movie is the best balance of comedy and drama and emotion.
But
the Guardians end up meeting up with the Ravagers, and surprise, Quill finds out Gamora is alive.
The leader of the Ravagers.
The leader of she's not only alive, she is the leader of the Ravagers.
Wait, we knew she was alive though. Like you knew she was alive.
We did, but Peter Quill did not.
Yeah, he did. You saw her in Endgame, man.
He knew. But
in Endgame, he saw her and she kicks him in the nuts. Remember?
Yeah, no, I know. I could have sworn he thought that that she got dusted away at the end.
No, because they're looking at the very end when Thor goes onto the ship, he's looking at a picture of her and they're going to go.
Right.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. No, then I misread that. The entire time I was watching the movie, I thought he thought she was dead, and that's what Nebula was telling him. But I guess then what was Nebula like holding back? That just she knew
I think she was
helping.
I think he obviously just wants to find her and fall back in love. and Nebula wasn't even telling him she was in contact with her.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they meet up with Gamora and the Ravagers, and that's when Gamora tells them, I think, about Orgosphere, which is basically like where Rocket's like, what is it, like Rocket's documentation or Rocket's files are basically stored.
Files of how he was created.
They're hoping it will tell them how to like override the kill switch, and that's when maybe my favorite fight scene in the whole MCU takes place.
Really?
Or one of them. Just the one where they're fighting all the Orgosphere guards.
Oh, the big one.
Bro, they're getting smacked down. And again, just right back to like Mantis's acting. I thought that scene we were going to lose Drax for sure. This movie blew balls get out of us.
Yeah.
Like he got popped in the chest and
he had
he
like
was
holes
down.
in him.
Dude, he got rocked. He
I
got
loved-
rocked.
Sorry, just like skipping ahead like 3 minutes. I loved like when he's like, maybe if I can talk to them, we'll be able to get them to stop fighting or something. And then she connects him, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not that stupid." Because I was about to be like, "Oh, not this! Like this is about to be dumb." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm not that."
Can we just reverse a bit as well, where Mantis made that security guard fall in love with Drax?
That was so good. That was so
It was
good.
just,
So
it's just, I don't know, man. It's just
it makes it
everything.
even better because like that was the first time we saw it, but Drax is like, I hate when you do that.
Yeah, clearly she does it all the time.
Like
This is
it's like a
interesting
recurring
actually,
thing.
because there was one bit when they get to what's it called? The place. What's it called?
Orgosphere.
There was one bit, and
Orgo
it was
Corp.
probably the joke that least landed for me. It did make me cringe quite a lot. It was basically when they're like, they get caught by the weird bubble security guards, and they're in the boiler suits, and they're like, and then Mantis like screams and calls him a dickhead. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that was out of that bit. That was like,
I don't
awful,
remember
like,
that enough, but maybe.
But that,
I thought
it
you were
was
about
like
to
terrible.
call out
However,
the part where when Nathan Fillion who plays Master Karja, came in, and he was like, "Yeah, we got one of those guys too." That like the boss.
No.
That was
Okay.
funny.
No.
That was one of my favorite parts of the whole movie.
No, this is what I'm saying. So they're in the boiler suits. They're pretending whatever. They're the engineers. They've just come in to seal the hole, whatever. He comes in and they're like, "Yeah, we're engineers," and it's like, let's just take it. I hated that bit. However,
Okay, that's fair.
30 seconds later, when he's like, "We've got one of these guys too," and he just points to this weird looking geezer behind him.
It's like his nephew or something.
Yeah,
It's
that
like
was, yeah. And then that recurring joke happened at least 2 or 3 times with him. That was so.
And
It
that's
went
like
from my
as,
least favorite scene to one of my favorite scenes in basically a minute.
that's
I think
like
that was
as the suits are, they like ejected the suits and they're floating off in the background.
Yeah,
and at first they
just
don't really.
distracting him.
I don't think they really comment on it at first, and I just see him in the background. And I started buying it. That was
That was
funny.
that was
Good
good.
scene.
So then moving on, they at the end of the scene where they're on Orgosphere, they come to a conclusion that one of the High Evolutionaries' doctors may have an
Who's that
override
actor?
code or something. I don't know.
Saved it in his head. I've seen that guy
he
before.
saved it in his head. So that's when they decide to visit Counter Earth. And before they get to Counter Earth,
Oh my
there's like
god,
we'll talk about it.
so good.
But before they get to Counter Earth, there's a really like, I don't even know if I would call it emotional, but there's a really nice scene, or not even nice, it's kind of heartbreaking, between Gamora and Pratt, or Gamora and Peter, where Gamora is basically like, stop trying to, turn me into who I used to be. Like, that's not me. I don't remember that person at all.
It was really great.
It was really just a nice scene because you kind of expected it to happen. I didn't think, like, when Gamora stepped into the scene, I didn't think it was going to be like a 2 conversations and then she like falls for Peter. I like that, like the whole movie is like,
that would have been dumb.
I was gonna say,
if at the end she'd have been like, I realize now, it was like,
I'm
like
really
that.
happy they didn't get together.
No,
I think that
same,
made it so much better.
I think them not getting together also makes like Peter's decision at the end of the movie to leave the Guardians and go to his grandpa just a lot easier, obviously.
And this is why I'm very much going to tweet, and strictly for clicks later, that Gamora and Quill have the same energy as the ending of La La Land. I'm just that's going to be my tweet.
But better.
Wow, better.
It's not better. I mean,
I get where you're going, but Gamora didn't have, like, she wasn't feeling like Emma Stone. She wasn't.
Obviously.
Yeah, she was not in love with.
But that'll be a good click tweet.
person.
That actor is in Crazy Rich Asians. Just to that's where I knew him from.
That's what it's all stuff from.
Yeah. So let's talk about Counter Earth, Seth, because your favorite scene in the MCU is there.
No, but
Did you laugh?
I did.
I still laughed.
laughed. I was like, I said to one, I was like, I've seen this. When this trailer first came out, I replayed this shit like 30 times. I'm not gonna laugh. I did laugh.
Yeah.
It's not even just that scene. It's just so fucking weird how they've got these things, these like these human shaped animals walking around in suits, and they're like driving past them. Someone's getting mugged, and like an owl is beating up a badger with a baseball bat, and they're wearing. It's just so weird, and they've got their own language that it just works for me because this is where James Gunn's artistic style that we don't get from the usual MCU just works tenfold because it's originally creative, it's bizarre, and there wasn't many points during the New World I wasn't laughing. Like for example, when Drax was even on the sofa, and he was like, "Why can't he have multi purposes?" When he's like keeps getting told off for lying down.
Yeah,
so funny, and all that sequence just was brilliant because I love seeing weird shit, and that you're not going to get much weirder than that, are you? Let's be fair.
No, like the creativity was off the charts. Like so many unique different costume designs, production designs, character designs, creature designs. Like every single minute of this movie, you're introduced to some new weird, bizarre creature. That's what I was saying in the spoiler-free part. Like this movie retroactively makes so many other Marvel movies like a tier down for me because they clearly can do it. They were so creative in this movie. Everything was so much care into it.
Well, Tyler, what I was going to ask you actually, because correct if I'm wrong, George and Cam, you haven't seen Dungeons and Dragons yet, have you?
No.
So,
no, sorry,
Tyler, this is very comparable to what I said about Dungeons and Dragons in that every 5 minutes I was waiting to see another weird creature and be entertained by something completely bizarre because the creativity is just off the charts. I think it's very comparable to Dungeons and Dragons in the way that I kind of felt about the film throughout.
Definitely.
Where I was just kind of waiting for something.
Right. With how many weird creatures were in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, you so easily could have just been like, all right, this world's just going to have all these weird looking people, just copy and paste a bunch of them in here. But he didn't. They literally just like uniquely designed every single one.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely agree.
Yeah. So, kind of moving on to like maybe like the third act of the
when
movies.
They're on Counter
or
Earth.
not the third act of the movie, but they're on Counter Earth, and basically Adam and his mom. What was his mom's name again?
Aisha, right?
Aisha.
That didn't look like his mom. That was weird.
Well,
yeah.
I know, I get it, but it was like there was
movie.
like 5 years between them or some shit. You know what I mean? It just looked weird.
Well, they sped up his growth.
I know.
Yeah,
It just looked weird.
In real life, they are 18 months apart.
Real life, they are.
Yeah, I thought Elizabeth Debicki was older, to be honest. But yeah, Adam Warlock's 30 and she's 32.
Oh
wow.
God.
Wow.
All right. Well, anyways, Adam and his mom basically intercept a Ravager that Adam kills, and they tell Adam and his mom that they're on Counter Earth. So they go and intercept them, and that's kind of where the third act maybe sort of begins. So they get to Counter Earth. Quill, Nebula, and Groot get to the high evolutionary ship. Drax, Mantis, and Gamora stay with Rocket. And then Quill and Groot go on their own, and they actually board the high evolutionary ship.
Because you can't bring weapons.
Yeah, and then there's like that
weapons.
Weird pig soldier. Like, what the fuck is that?
See, they called it something like those are like
they mentioned it. I can't remember what it was. But
I can't remember.
I might try and find it. Carry on.
No, so
you're a pig soldier.
Yeah. And then Mantis and Drax also end up on the high evolutionary ship, and that just leaves Gamora with Rocket, and then she's attacked by the pig guy, no?
Nebula also with Drax and
okay. Right.
Tom, it's just called War Pig, apparently.
War Pig. No, but there's something they call all of those creatures that are it's literally just like weird fucked up creature thing basically, but it's a different term for that.
Before I forget, I have to mention this. Do you know when they're obviously we'll get onto this, I won't explain too much, when they're letting kind of the animals out of the cages, like a Joan of Arc kind of situation, and Mantis lets that fucking thing out. I was laughing
funny.
so because this thing just comes out and it's like what the
She's
fuck
like,
is
oh,
that?
I was scared of the thing behind you.
Yeah.
This like gloop thing.
You know, in any other Marvel film, if he said that kind of joke, it wouldn't work.
It would not.
It wouldn't work. It just works in this. That's the thing. That was great.
Yeah, and then rest in peace, pig guy, because Adam kills him.
Yeah, he ruins him.
Like that's your boy. Why are you killing him like that? But he's going to look for Rocket, and then somehow Gamora doesn't stop him, but just buys time against him. Which
she runs under the ship.
Yeah, which gives Quill and Groot enough time to get the Doctor and I guess extract his memory. And that's kind of where the third act begins, because that's when Rocket starts to, go.
No, this is just where like I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is where it starts to become, this movie might be one of the best in the MCU. Like
of all time.
Yeah. It's actually my fourth highest superhero movie because it's above Infinity War, whatever. But when fucking Groot comes out and has all those guns on him because he's just a fucking tree thing, that's where I was like, holy shit. Also, when he becomes a kaiju, when they're like, go kaiju mode, and he just throws this thing, me dying laughing.
Which is hilarious because he like in the first scene, Adam Warlock like tears him apart, and he's just a head with like four little stick legs.
Didn't that remind you? And there was another scene, you know, when you first got introduced to the rabbit in Floor, whatever it was. It reminded me of the Toy Story scene when he's. I saw Toy Story and I said this to Anna, like the little baby's doll head with the little. It reminded me of that so much. That scene was amazing, by the way. Then, when he ripped his face off, that was fantastic.
Speaking of like the comedy in this movie, we didn't even touch on Cosmo the dog. The entire movie just trying to get
so bad,
whatever his name is, to just say
Kraglin.
Kraglin. Just say good dog. That killed me every time.
I will say the voice kind of irritates me after a while of the dog.
I didn't like that as Russian. It makes sense, but I didn't like it.
Oh, it's Maria Bakalova.
It makes sense. She's incredible. It just not because it's Russian. It just kind of annoys me after a while. It just kind of gets to me.
It didn't fit the dog to me.
Yeah,
I loved.
But nothing Maria fits Bakalova in this film, though, does it?
I mean, she can do an American accent though, so like pretty much everyone else is
really.
Russian dog who comes from space. Who got sent to space.
Doesn't matter.
Either way, another moment, just kind of moving forward with the plot. Another moment where like my theater, I wouldn't say like erupted in applause, but they definitely like let out like claps and shit. Is when the scene where Rocket flatlines. That's obviously the scene where you see Quill in the trailer like giving that massive scream, and then you see Rocket and he meets up with Lila Teeth. Yeah.
Prior to this, and I don't remember when, is the scene where he rips off, he like attack, like the High Evolutionary shoots and kills all of his friends.
That was so sad. Wow.
That was one of the best scenes in the movie. And
that was
maybe
that was one of the best scenes of the MCU.
That's
maybe
true.
Even the best.
Maybe that's when it turns from like, holy shit, this could be a 5 out of 5 movie, because that was.
Cam, I don't know about you, but like for me, you know, when we always speak, we have this conversation every podcast, and it's like the MCU goes dark and stuff. And I wouldn't say it was dark, but for the MCU, that was probably the most emotionally invested I've been.
Even Adam's introduction was like one of the darkest and most brutal scenes in the MCU.
Yeah, and like, you know, at the end when they pull off his obviously face and he's all scratched off, whatever. It's like that, for the MCU, I was.
Which I like that, because like when younger Rocket is ripping his face off, I was like, oh, that's why he's got like the blue
the thing on,
head, like he scratched off all his hair or whatever, and then that's what he's become. And then which we can talk about later, but
and then another just like brutal and like just emotionally damaging scene is the scene where, and I'm going to whisper this because Victoria's in the other room, so I don't want her to hear any of this, is the scene where Lila gets shot. And then the other two die as well, and Rocket just lets out that one scream. I was tearing up at that.
I think I'd let tears the whole
because the entire scream. It was like the shot was you're looking at it from like the side, so it's just Rocket standing and then Lila on the floor, and that's the only thing you're looking at, and you just see Rocket let out this massive scream. And I was like, that stuff.
It's one of those things where like if these were 4 people, I probably would have been less devastated. You can't.
You always are with animals, aren't you?
You can't be throwing baby animals
like,
at me.
When we first
Like
get introduced to young
disabled
baby
animals.
Rocket, like when he goes in there and he's like, it hurts, and you're like,
puppy
God.
dog face, and like, and he's like saying it hurts. Like that entire time, I was like, yeah, this just broke my heart.
It's so sad.
It's such low hanging fruit, but I grabbed that shit, snatch it up.
But again,
I don't think it is low hanging fruit.
No, I'm just saying using animals versus people.
True.
Like, gonna manipulate me more.
Yeah, I
it's
get
warranted.
Yeah.
So Rocket basically nearly dies, and he kind of sees Lila and the other two, Teefs and Floors.
Ripped straight from Deadpool 2.
Right from Deadpool 2.
Happy that scene where she's like, it's not time yet. You have stuff to accomplish.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the scene I was talking about. Like when she like finally says like, but not now. Like it's not your time. My theater like started clapping. My theater was super excited, and then obviously
I knew he wasn't gonna die, so I was like,
it's just lazy writing. It's a copy and paste.
Yeah. I didn't think he was gonna die, but I did in the moment. I wasn't even thinking of Deadpool 2. So like in the moment, I was like,
I didn't think of that.
I was like, that's a great scene right there. That's fantastic.
I haven't watched that movie in a long time.
So they revive him. Yay. Then we cut to. Is the next scene where we go to Mantis, Nebula, and Drax, and that's when they start to like see all the children on the high evolutionary ship. So Mantis,
he just kills everyone on Counter Earth too. Like,
he also
blows up Counter Earth. That shit's gone.
And then they're in like no atmosphere. They've got no oxygen, and then Drax has to break into the ship, and then they find the kids. Is that or something before that?
It was a little earlier. It's before. That's before Quill and Groot like blow up the ship and everything. That's way earlier.
Yeah.
They're on the ship, and then I saw this a week ago. I wish I got to see it again before doing this. I would have. Yeah. But they're on the ship, and this is when we get a really great like what we were talking about last week of just like James Gunn gives every character in this movie a good moment, like Drax being a dad, like Mantis, touching the whatever that Rathtar or whatever the fuck that thing is.
That was cool.
By the way, that's what I was talking about. Like she touches it and it looks like she's touching it. She's touching something,
Whereas
it looks
Janet Van Dyne
touching the thing,
which was
so bad,
the last MCU film.
Terrible.
Exactly. Like it's like crazy the difference between the two in those two scenes alone.
And I'm also, just to track back, I'm happy you mentioned Drax being a dad. That like little like short speech that Mantis gives where she's like, you were never meant to be a destroyer, you were meant to be a dad. I was like, come on.
Yeah, but just before
was that then, or was that at the end?
That was when like they see the kids in the prison and Drax is like
just after that.
Like Drax is just trying to like make them happy or something.
Do you know before that when she's speaking to Nebula and she's like basically giving her the talk, and then she calls Drax stupid, and then she mind erases him.
Oh yeah, that was hilarious.
Drax is so fucking funny, man. Honestly.
So Rocket is revived, and he kind of makes his way to, and this is where we kind of get him and the High Evolutionary reuniting. Rocket sees a litter of baby raccoons. But then the High Evolutionary, at this point, he's out of his mind. Like he wants Rocket so goddamn badly.
You're missing the no sleep till Brooklyn hasn't. What happened before this?
Oh, you're so right.
You're missing that because this is when they're escaping. So you got to talk no sleep till Brooklyn.
That was the best little drop of a song. I can't believe I like just glazed over that. That was another moment. And Seth, I'm so surprised your theater wasn't like animated. My theater was. I expect so.
I'm surprised because this is like they usually do it with normal MCU films, not great ones. Do you know what I mean?
I'm curious. So, like we said, we're recording this segment of the podcast on a Thursday. So in New York, this is technically opening night. There were a few screenings last night that I know people went
really?
to. Tonight is technically opening night in New York. So I am so curious at like how the crowd is going to be reacting to this movie compared to like a week ago. But yeah, that No Sleep Till Brooklyn scene was fucking incredible.
So great, man.
Wait, sorry, which scene was this? Remind me of the scene.
Yeah, go for it.
Like No Sleep Till Brooklyn scene?
Yeah.
They got on the ship. Basically all three ships crash landed onto the High Evolutionary ship. Then they are trying to find Drax, Nebula, and Mantis. They're in like the main hull of the ship, whatever you want to call it. They've landed there, and then fucking Mantis comes through on whatever those big animals that eat batteries are, and then they're like, okay, we're good, let's go. And that's when Rocket's like, I'm done running, the trailer moment.
I think that was my favorite scene of the film. Actually, think about it. I think
it you know what's great about this movie and the Guardians in general is if you watch the original Suicide Squad, there's so many horrible needle drops, man. That thing is that thing is like a music video. The needle drops are so bad. But in this one, it's like they do the little things to make it seem like every time they get in the ship, they press play on like it's like you're driving. They press play on the whatever, and that's when the needle drops.
The headphones and stuff like that.
Quills putting headphones in. It's like it has some sort of purpose. And then it breaks into one of the best MCU fights, and shockingly one of the only slow-mo.
I love the walk. It was
just
nice,
any walk you get with the whole squad. James Gunn has perfected that because he does it so well in the Suicide Squad as well.
Even if he hadn't, I mean, don't get me wrong, it looks great, but like, it's the fact that if they don't like any other MCU, it's the fact that he's made you care about these characters so much through the past previous two films. It's just completely different. It's a completely different feeling. I loved the walking scene. It was really, really nice.
There's also, I saw, because a lot of people saw it last week as well. So like all throughout this week, a lot of people were tweeting like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 has one of my favorite like MCU battle scenes. And the reason I love that is because like I don't know which one they're talking about. Like three of them could easily be my favorite MCU battles.
Probably all of them. Definitely.
Yeah. But
no, you're good. Go. No, I've been talking. You're good.
I was just going to say, I was going to continue the plot. So if you have something to say about what we're talking about, say.
Well, I mentioned this like in my little notes I took after the movie. This works. This is so every MCU movie, if you want to pull it back, like has a giant CGI battle, or at least now CGI fight at the end. Wakanda Forever has that, where all of the Wakandans are fighting are they Atlanteans? I think they are. Atlanteans. And I don't think it works as well in that, because then you have the Black Panther off fighting Namor. In this, you just have the Guardians fighting a shit ton of people and just ripping through them, and you care about these characters. Or you have off on nowhere, you have finally we get Kraglin telling Cosmo the dog, or the space dog, that she's a good dog because she just slams two bricks or two walls together.
That was a cool moment.
This is no different in the sense that it's a CGI battle at the end. And I get it if that's not your thing, but it's because you care about these characters, and it's not a bunch of like random Wakandans versus random Atlanteans. It's five main
people you spend hours with.
Exactly. 6 Guardians that you love just ripping people apart, basically.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes it work so well.
That's what makes all of it work so well. Even the bad jokes work so well because you care about the characters. That's it.
Second best friend. So this leads to, again, I mentioned it earlier, the scene with Rocket and Groot. That is, it's a callback to Guardians 1 when they're in the prison and like Rocket's on Groot's shoulder. And I fucking love that. And then before that, I ate that shit completely up. But before that, Rocket sees that he is a raccoon. Like the entire Guardians trilogy, he was like, no, I don't know what I am. It's not a fucking raccoon. Stop calling me a raccoon. Sees that he's a raccoon. And then obviously that sets up that final just like beat drop on Rocket, raccoon, and pops one into the High Evolutionary's chest.
So good.
Sick. So good. My theater lost it. So dope.
And it's such a stupid line, but for 3.5 movies, we'll call it, if you want to include Infinity War and Endgame, he's been saying, I'm not a raccoon. Stop calling me that. Like for 3.5 movies, you're dealing with that. And all of a sudden he's kind of accepted, I'm a fucking raccoon or whatever, you know, and I've been made into this. And it's such a stupid thing to pull because it is like MCU, but God, it works so well in this thing.
What was his name again? The guy who played High Evolutionary. What was his name?
Chukwudi.
Yeah, man, really liked him.
Yeah, so
really liked him.
He's obviously left to die, and this kind of gets into the scene. So Cosmo the dog is like trying to hold the ships together, but Quill didn't make it, so he has to like propel himself across I don't know, 200 yards of space or however fucking long it is.
Yeah,
I wish he died. I'm just going to start there.
I did nearly laugh, by the way, because his face did go very puffy.
Yeah, his face got puffy, but like I
was like half crying, half laughing. It was a bit weird.
And I texted Tyler and Cam. Sorry, Seth, but you hadn't seen the movie, so I texted Tyler and Cam, and I was like, I wish someone died. Like I really do. I think that would have not like cemented this as like the most emotional MCU movie, because I still think it probably is the most emotional MCU movie, but I don't know. Every trailer, you know, everyone was like, Rocket's dead, Rocket's dead, Rocket's dead. I think that would have just been a really like, you know, subversion of expectations if Rocket didn't die and someone else died, and like we're left to, you know, be heartbroken with Rocket instead of for Rocket. I don't know. Tyler, I know you're against the non-death scene. You didn't like it too much.
So here's my two takes. One, Rocket Raccoon, I wish he would have died later, because like if you're gonna set up the whole like it's not your time, I'll still be here when you're done with what you need to accomplish. Like he accomplished what he needs to accomplish. Like his character arc's done. Like they're just gonna make him be part of the Guardians forever or whatever. That's fine. I wish he would have died at the end. And then Chris Pratt, I wish you, like I texted I think earlier today to you guys. I was like, I wish he would have, like, I'm fine with him surviving, but I wish he would have like made the leap and there wasn't the whole face disfiguration, because that just doesn't make sense. And then like, but what I hated is I love that he went home to his grandpa. Hated Star-Lord will return. Wish it would have just left it there. No more Star-Lord.
No, they always do this. They always do that though. It's
no. I'm saying he shouldn't ever be back in the MCU. I'm saying he should never show his face again.
I think while I don't necessarily agree, or while I don't necessarily disagree with like that, I would like if he were coming up with like I think he's gonna be a main character in like Kang Dynasty and such, because he's now on Earth. He's kind of like be with the Avengers. I think that's more grand scope things. Like I understand if this were not a 31 or 32 movie saga or wherever the hell we're at now, they probably could have done it that way. I just think they're also probably gonna. And you know what? I bet you Guardians 4 sucks, because it's not gonna be James Gunn.
I bet they're gonna make him get back with Gamora or something too. And James Gunn will be
no. It's gonna be that new team.
No, it's that team again.
I take that back. Yeah. They could make them get back together, because again, it's not going to be James Gunn, and it could suck.
That won't happen, surely.
I think it's going to be the new team. That's what they set up at the end. It's that new team.
The run at the end with the post credit. Yeah,
I saw.
Hey, Carmi, watch the post credit. Proud of me.
I saw.
I'm out. Sorry. Soups tweeted. I love Soups. Soups tweeted, "You have to stay for both." You didn't have to stay for both.
You did not have to stay for
both.
You did not have to stay for both. You didn't have to stay for any of them.
Since we're just on that real quick, so like that final one was like when they're like, someone's mowing the lawn. Who is it that's mowing the lawn? Like the son, and he's like, why is he, or like why doesn't he go do it or something, or like who's like in. There's someone that they never show his face. I thought for sure, I was like holding my breath. I'm like, who's James Gunn about to cast for this random like family member of Peter Quill?
No,
like,
I think the joke was that it had a newspaper that Kevin Bacon was kidnapped by aliens.
That was
Kevin Bacon. That's what I mentioned. Yeah, that's what I mentioned.
And I haven't done like my full deep dive into who it could be or whatever. Maybe they were talking about some crazy thing. But I think it was only to use that Star-Lord will return.
Yeah,
I think
I hated those end credit scenes were just useless.
I would have been fine if they pulled like an end game where there wasn't an end credit scene. Like I know they probably saved that for like, obviously they only did it with Endgame, so they're saving it for the big movies. But like this is a movie where I think that would have been warranted.
Yeah,
like ended with
they had
like
5 for Volume 2. Yeah, they had 5 post-credit scenes. If you remember.
Jesus. Yeah, if the movie had ended, cut to black, and then it just said like the Guardians of the Galaxy will return, I would have been like sick.
I think it would have been even sicker if they did Rocket Raccoon will return. That would have been so poetic.
I don't mind the first one. I guess
no, the first one I think was good because you see Rocket as like, I think, I mean, like, I'm not mad I watched either of them. I'm just saying you don't really have to stay for either.
One.
Okay. Yeah, you definitely did not have to
stay. Because the credits of Marvel films are very long. There's a lot.
I went pee in between. It was perfect timing. It was perfect timing. I went pee in between the 2 post-credit scenes.
I needed to piss about 2 hours of this film, by the way.
At like the start of the opening credit, they had like all the pictures from like all from the
that
first
was great.
2 movies.
It was like a send off of Endgame. Like Endgame has the signatures, which is one of the best endings. But this one had the good like pictures, like you mentioned, of every movie.
I liked it a lot. I liked it a chunk.
I'm glad no one died. I'll say it.
I think. I
don't think anyone's in the minority on this side. I've seen a lot of people say, "I wish someone died." I see a lot of people saying, "I'm happy no one died."
Yeah, I think they found I do agree. I wish he would have just made the leap. Other than the fact that I think he did the like most James Gunn thing and had him be the Sistine Chapel or whatever that God touching man or whatever that drawing is. I'm not. I should know, considering I went to a Catholic high school. I don't. It's fine. I just think I think they found a creative way to send everyone off without killing them. I think one of the best moments in this movie was the Gamora walking past and saying, "I bet we were fun." That was really that was way better than them getting back together. Yeah. I know you guys agree with that, but
that is one thing I'm very happy about that they did not. Yeah, like that it would have just felt too easy because like when you think about it, the events of this movie happened within the span of like what 2 days.
It would have been stupid, man. Because other films would have done that. Another MCU film would have done that. I can guarantee. I agree. Like that would have been. I'm actually with Cam. I'm actually kind of glad that no one died. To be fair, I quite liked it. And apart from the fact, I do wish you made the leap. That was a bit weird.
I think again, I from everything I read, assumed that the only person that would probably go on from movie to movie is Chris Pratt, just because he's like the biggest name, obviously, and the biggest character. So I don't know. I kind of assumed he.
I just think people multiverse of madness themselves. I saw like the Josiahs did a TikTok of like who's gonna die, and they're like, I think these 4 people are gonna die. Yeah. And it's like I think these 5. I think it's like same with multiverse of madness. Everyone thought there was gonna be a ton of cameos in that one. Everyone thought there was gonna be a ton of deaths in this one. Which like to their credit, like the trailers made me believe that, but.
I did that for No Way Home. I posted a video like, who do I think is going to die? And that to this day is like one of my best performing TikToks.
Yeah, because it was No Way Home.
In that video, I said Toby and Andrew are dying.
Both of them. Man.
I said both of them are getting kicked.
See, like, and that's no offense. That's a stupid guess.
Dumb guess. So
that's
dumb.
A stupid guess.
And okay, I justified it. I was like, yeah, it's their time, one last send off, blah blah blah. Yeah. All right. Anything else we want to touch on the Guardians?
Rip Drax. I miss that guy. He's best character MCU
He's not coming back. Yeah,
I know he's not. He's the best character the MCU has ever had.
So, did we mention? I don't think we mentioned first F-bomb in the MCU.
Oh yeah,
that was so funny. That was such a good
so well.
I'm very happy.
Come on, boys.
You didn't like it?
Doing it? No.
No, that was funny. It was Chris Pratt's delivery. It just made me laugh.
No, that was perfect.
That's kind of like the Drax throwing the ball at it. I think. Like I knew it was coming, and it still made me laugh.
Funny. Drax is too funny.
But I will say, and I think it's just a recurring thing that they always say frickin'. Like in Guardians 2, when he said we're the Guardians Guardians of the freaking galaxy, except he didn't say freaking whatever. I would have preferred if they had one F-bomb to use, if they made Rocket at the end say we're the Guardians of the fucking galaxy or something. I think that would have been so damn good. But they probably
didn't at the end of Guardians 1, Peter said like we're the Guardians of the galaxy, bitch. Like when they're holding the Infinity Stone all together.
My second favorite scene in the MCU. Yeah.
Okay.
And then
what's your first favorite scene in the MCU?
Thor entering Wakanda. I said, I literally, we just had a top 10 scenes.
Was that it?
Yeah, that was number like 3.
When you say a Marvel thing, I just kind of switch off a little bit.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Unless it's Guardians from now on.
Yeah. I listen to everything you say about
If Guardians 3 was in black and white, would it be a 5 out of 5?
No, it'd probably be worse.
Stop.
You don't get as much
the colors, man.
Weird characters. The artistic style of it is probably one of the best things about it. Black and white Guardians would be fucking shit.
All right, we will we will wrap up our Guardians of the Galaxy 3 spoiler filled review here.
You should say where you're headed to now, because it fits in with what we're talking about right now.
Oh yeah, I am off to watch Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
I texted Emma during this and said we should go see it tonight.
So go. I'm very.
I got
excited
a maybe. Let's see what the AMC is up to.
Oh yeah,
so
she didn't go with you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Let's all wave goodbye to Seth for the remainder of the episode. It was nice having you. And if you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 by the time this episode drops, drop us a comment and let us know, where does it rank on your MCU? Is it in your top 5, 10, 15? Do you fucking hate it? Do you love it? Let us know. Seth, we love you. We will see you next week. Cam and Tyler, I'm going to keep talking to you in 3 days.
Yep.
Well,
peace.
Best soundtrack of the trilogy.